Max Jana, a controversial figure in the landscape of 19th century philosophy, boldly challenged the prevailing ideologies of his time with his work, The Ego and Its Own. While his name may not be as widely recognized as some of his contemporaries, like Karl Marx, his ideas on individualism, egoism, and freedom have left a mark on the trajectory of philosophical discourse. Beyond his critique of societal norms and institutions, he also offered insights into the realm of education and explored the idea of a radical departure from conventional approaches that he believed stifled individual autonomy and self-realization. In this video, I am going to take you on a journey into Stejner's unique perspective on education, drawing from a range of his writings, including The Ego and Its Own, as well as his essays such as The False Principle of Our Education and Stejner's Critics. Through an exploration of his philosophical framework, I am trying to uncover his critique of traditional educational systems, his conception of egoism as it pertains to education, and his proposals for alternative approaches that prioritize individual freedom and self-discovery. His insights challenge us to re-examine the fundamental principles that underpin our understanding of education, inviting us to consider the implications of his ideas for contemporary education theory and practice. As we look into his philosophy, we are confronted with provocative questions about the nature of learning, the role of authority in education, and the pursuit of selfhood or ownness within the confines of institutionalized schooling. So let me take you on a journey to explore the intersections of egoism and education in the pursuit of greater individual liberation and self-actualization. At the heart of Max Jana's philosophy is the concept of egoism. This is a notion that challenges traditional moral frameworks and asserts the primacy of the individual self. In Jana's seminal work, The Ego and Its Own, he proclaims the sovereignty of the ego and rejects the idea of moral obligations imposed by external authorities and societal norms. For him, the ego is not bound by conventional moral codes or altruistic duties. Rather, it's free to pursue its own desires and interests without restraints. Central to Stejner's conception of egoism is the idea that individuals must assert their own autonomy and assert their own desires above all else. In a famous quote, he writes, "I am the owner of my might, and I am so when I know myself as unique." In the unique one, the owner himself returns into his creative nothing, of which he is born. Here, he emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and self-realization in asserting his egoistic nature. The individual must recognize their uniqueness and embrace their own power, rather than subjugating themselves to external authorities or moral dictates. His egoism stands in contrast to conventional ethical theories such as altruism or utilitarianism, which prioritize the welfare of others over the individual self. He rejects the notion that individuals have inherent duties or obligations to society, arguing instead that true freedom and fulfillment can only be found in the pursuit of one's own desires and interests. As Stejner famously declares, "I am not in the world to live up to your expectations, and you are not in the world to live up to mine." In the context of education, Stejner's concept of egoism has profound implications for how we understand the purpose and goals of learning. Traditional educational systems emphasize conformity, obedience, and the cultivation of altruistic virtues. All are antithetical to Stejner's egoist philosophy. Instead of molding individuals to fit societal norms or fulfill external expectations, he argues that education should empower individuals to embrace their own uniqueness and pursue their own passions and interests. Max Stirner's critique of conventional education systems is rooted in his belief that these systems serve to perpetuate the domination of external authorities over the individual self. In his essay, The False Principle of Our Education, Stirner argues that traditional educational institutions are designed to mold individuals into obedient and docile subjects, rather than fostering genuine self-discovery and self-expression. The educational institution is there to see to it that society receives a certain direction and form. It must provide obedient subjects for society's ends. According to Stirner, the primary goal of traditional education is not to nurture the unique talents and passions of individuals, but rather to instill in them a sense of duty and conformity to societal norms. He criticizes the emphasis placed on memorization, standardized testing, and disciplinary measures as means of enforcing compliance and stifling independent thought. And he argues that this form of education suppresses individual autonomy and creativity, leading to the cultivation of spiritual cripples who are unable to think for themselves or assert their own desires. Moreover, Stirner contends that traditional education perpetuates a sense of moral obligation and altruism that is antithetical to egoistic principles. He argues that the emphasis on self-sacrifice and obedience to authority figures undermines the development of true selfhood and autonomy. In The False Principle of Our Education, he writes, "The child belongs to his parents, to his educators, to mankind, to God, and so forth." The sense of belonging, according to Stirner, serves to bind individuals to external authorities and prevent them from asserting their own desires and interests. In Stirner's Critics, he further elaborates on his critique of conventional education, arguing that it fosters a sense of dependency and servility among individuals. He writes, "In school, the child submits to the teacher, in society to the ruler, in religious life to God, in science to truth, in morality to duty." He contends that this pattern of submission and obedience begins in childhood and continues throughout adulthood, perpetuating a cycle of domination and control. Max Stirner's alternative vision for education is grounded in the principles of self-realization and ownness, emphasizing the importance of individual autonomy and self-discovery. In The Ego in Its Own, Stirner argues that true freedom can only be achieved through the recognition and assertion of one's own uniqueness and desires. He writes, "Ownness is my whole being and activity. My property consists in that I am." Here, Stirner introduces the concept of ownness as the foundation of individual identity and agency, emphasizing the inseparability of the ego from its own creative power. Central to his concept of ownness is the idea that individuals have to assert their autonomy and pursue their own desires without inhibition. He rejects the notion that individuals have inherent duties or obligations to society, and he argues that true fulfillment can only be found in the unrestrained expression of one's own desires and interests. He writes, "I am neither a Christian nor a democratic man, but a unique one." Here, he emphasizes the importance of embracing one's uniqueness and refusing to be defined by external labels or categories. Stirner's concept of ownness has profound implications for how we understand the goals and methods of education. Traditional educational systems often seek to mold individuals into predetermined roles or identities, imposing external standards of success and achievement. Stirner argues that this approach stifles individual creativity and autonomy, preventing individuals from realizing their full potential. He writes, "To respect the individuality of the child means not only to leave him alone, not to interfere with him, but also to make sure that his actions are his own." In Art and Religion, he further explores the relationship between self-realization and creativity, arguing that true artistic and spiritual expression can only emerge from the depths of the individual ego. He writes, "Every one is the son of his own works." But where do I get the courage to break with all custom, all traditional morality, all fear of God? Max Jenna's alternative approaches to education challenged the traditional paradigms of schooling, advocating for a radical departure from conventional methods that prioritize conformity and obedience. In the text, The False Principle of Our Education, he proposes a vision of education that empowers individuals to pursue their own interests and passions autonomously. He writes, "If you wish to educate your child as a free individual, give them entirely into the hands of freedom." Jenna argues that true education must be founded on principles of individual freedom and self-determination, rather than coercion and manipulation. Central to Jenna's alternative approach to education is the idea of self-liberation and self-education. He rejects the notion that individuals must rely on external authorities or institutions to guide their intellectual and moral development. He argues instead that true learning can only occur through the individual's own effort. He writes, "You must educate yourself to self-education. You must be your own master." So basically, he emphasizes the importance of self-reliance and self-discovery in this educational process. In Jenna's Critiques, he goes further with this. He argues that true education must liberate individuals from the constraints of societal norms and expectations, which would enable them to assert their own desires and interests freely. In Jenna's Critiques, he writes, "We are to make them men and let them seek their own ways to become what they are capable of being." Here, Jenna advocates for an educational approach that respects the individuality of each student and encourages them to explore their own unique potentials. Jenna's alternative vision for education also encompasses the realm of self-liberation from ideological and moral constraints. In The Free Ones, he challenges individuals to break free from the shackles of conventional morality and embrace their own desires and passions without guilt or shame. He writes, "Do with your property what you will, only do not let it be your master." This is a radical perspective. But it's only radical because we've never tried it. It's only radical because we're stuck in this Stockholm Syndrome-driven wasteland. So maybe, sometimes, a radical perspective can be helpful. Max Jenna's radical perspective on education challenges us to reconsider fundamental principles that underpin our understanding of selfhood and learning. Through his critiques of conventional educational systems and ideas for alternative approaches grounded in egoistic principles, Jenna invites us to envision a new educational paradigm that prioritizes individual autonomy, self-realization, and liberation. Jenna's emphasis on self-liberation and self-education resonates with contemporary movements towards student-centered education and personalized learning approaches. His call for individuals to assert their own desires and interests without inhibition speaks to the need for educational environments that empower students to explore their passions and cultivate their unique talents. Think about how many times you've thought that all of the things that you learned in school are so much less important than the things that they didn't teach you. And think about education nowadays. Think about what standardization has done to us and how we use AI and Wikipedia to get through school. Jenna's critique of traditional educational institutions reminds us of the dangers of conformity, and it urges us to create learning environments that respect the individuality of each student and foster a culture of creativity and critical thinking. While Jenna's ideas may face challenges and criticisms, as they always have, they continue to inspire people, even in education, to reimagine the possibilities of education in the 21st century.
Well, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed it. We had a ball making it. Thank you very much.